is talking about being grounded and raising of people from your own, because there is a problem I've encountered, because you're talking about creating a harmony between worship leaders and pastors. And there's a trend I've seen in church where a pastor will announce in a WhatsApp group or on a Facebook page, like, I'm looking for a keyboardist, I'm looking for a guitarist, I'm looking for this person. And then they come, but they don't know even their spirit. They don't know where these men and women are submitted to and their background and their history. And then they come to church. Alafu wasipokubaliana, what happens? They have a discord and they begin, exchanging bitter words and all this. Why do you think that is, and what can we do about it? Should we call for people from outside, or we mentor our own? He said we mentor our own, but the question again I will ask is, how do we mentor our own? And how can we convince men of God and women of God that we need to mentor our own?
Worship and music, where did it come from? We are told about Lucifer, the chief musician. So I think there are things we need to understand. All this conflict and bitterness also, I think there is one thing that a worship leader must understand. You will begin, everybody can sing. Even the secular guys are singing very well. Men have listened to R&Bs. Those guys have got vocals. You listen to Lucky Dube. It is touching even the Christians today. You find a Christian in a matatu na bongo inachezwa. Hata jui wakati alianza kugonga kichwa na miguu, because music is sweet. So anybody has a vocal, anybody can sing, whether you're in the world or you are in Christ. But now, as a worship leader, as a worshiper, that is why you are not just being called a musician, you are called a worshiper. In Luke chapter 7, we are told about the breaking of the alabaster bottle. One of the revelations that I get from that is that when this woman approached Christ and knelt down before Christ, she worshipped him. And breaking the alabaster bottle means that this woman broken herself. She was so much broken before Christ. Now, if you receive Christ as a worship leader, we have worshipers, we have praise and worship, wacha niite hivyo, ile plain language tunaelewa, ambao wanaimba kwa madhabahu, but they have not broken their culture. They are not broken before God. You see, this is a personality. This is something that you need to invest in yourself. So as a worshiper, you must be broken first. It is not a matter of holding the microphone. Are you broken? And that is why we will find a worshiper after mega worship and we saw God, watu walianguka when you are worshiping and lifting your hand. Before the service ends, unatoka kwa pale tu umetoka kwa madhabahu, pale nje kwa gate, you've just insulted somebody. Ama umeongea na mtu vibaya. The reason why Jasper, a worship leader, will worship and after worshiping there is no character change is because I am not broken. You cannot fight your pastor whom you stand with at the altar and you say you are a worshiper and you are broken before God. One is lying to another. Before you got that altar there, the man of God was there, prayed for the mission and the vision, raised an altar for God, and God gave me a vision, and one of the vision could be this church shall be called a worship church, so I need worshipers. And then a man of God will go out there, as a man of God has said, the error that a man of God will do is that God has given him people. The same way you're recruiting ushers there is the same way you are supposed to recruit worship leaders or worshipers or praise and worship. And suppose you realize that they are a bit low, you can call for a brother from another church, come and train, but not to poach. Come and do this, I will be paying you, leave that church. Hiyo ni mbegu mbaya sisi wenyewe tunafanya nini? Tunapanda. Now what we need to do is to raise a team. Look for a mechanism on how they become better. If they decide to go after you have raised them for your own fear, just like the same way you can raise a pastor, ordain them and they leave. You have done your part. You have done your part. You don't need to cry. You have done your part. There is a seed that you have planted there that nobody can ever remove. So to me, Louis, I think we don't need to call for professionals. We need to invent professionals, because that professional you're looking for, you don't know the spirit that they carry. And once you find one, I think another thing the pastor should do, me as a pastor, let me sit with this worship leader one-on-one. Let me share with him so that he may understand and know me very well. Know the vision. Know how the ministry began. Know where we have reached. So you make your decision from there. If you cannot make me or make this place your local church, then you don't deserve to be a worship leader here. So it begins from there. And because we don't want that as men of God, that's why we go there and poach for professionals, because church is competing today. I heard that my brother, a neighbor church, went and brought Congolese. And now I also want to bring Congolese. Super. So I want you guys to play music here that anybody that is on the other street will feel there's a music here. Now that's not serving God. That is now competition. And now that is what these other guys want to hear. So if you want us to do well, man of God, I'm leaving ile mijengo ninafanya. Sasa nataka nikuwe hapa full time ndio to practice vizuri. They demand for pay.
This is the question, men of God. Can worship leaders who want to be, there are worship leaders who want to do more than just ministering in praise and worship. They want to be involved in preaching. They want to be involved in other offices of teaching, of evangelism, of even prophecy. But now some feel ni kama wamekanyagiwa, like hawapewi opportunity, wako limited to just singing. Now when they leave the church, they are invited once in a while to go to a certain service, to go and become the guest preachers there. They feel like men of God don't want that. They don't want them to explore. From your point of view, speaking from an office of a pastor, is it true? And what can we do about it if men of God have been placed in a fixed position? Like, I want to go and minister. I want to become a pastor maybe in the long run. But I'm not given opportunity in my local church. But when I go to another church, I'm celebrated. What are we supposed to do about it? Men worship leaders feel like wamekanyagiwa explore other giftings apart from just singing in praise and worship. Na wakitoka nje wanaambiwa wamekuwa rebellious. Man of God.
My question would be, let me answer with a question. If you're a worship leader and you feel that you are called into an office, right? Then number one thing that you're supposed to do is to communicate with your pastor, with your senior or your spiritual leader. Let them understand, I have a passion for worship ministry, but I also have a call in me. I feel I'm called into this, so that as you tell them, as you try to tell them what you're feeling, or what you perceive in your spirit. I don't like using the word feeling, because feelings comes and go. So if you perceive in your spirit that I have a call, one thing you should communicate with your pastor. But you should not assume because you've been invited to another place, to another church, to just minister and to pastor and to teach, and you do very well when you're there. That does not regard the fact that your pastor is still your pastor. And so every worship leader, I think the paramount thing is to communicate. I perceive I am called into this. Over and above me ministering in worship, I perceive I am called into this. So that now we can come now to what we are talking about, being in harmony with the man of God. So that now he will be able to mentor you into a particular office, into a particular assignment. But you going out there, ministering out there, and then coming back and starting feeling, I'm good. Why does my pastor, why does he not recognize, You know, when I go out there, I'm celebrated. But when I come here, I'm just a worship leader. You know, maybe you haven't communicated, because the calling of God is very personal. It is not communal, it's personal. It is upon you. You perceive, I'm called into this, communicate with your spiritual authority. And that way will bring in harmony, because he'll be able now to come in and begin to mentor you. If it is into the pastoral, he'll mentor you into that. If it is a prophetic, he'll mentor you into that. But he cannot mentor you into something that he doesn't even know that you are into it. The reason why we are pastors today is because I communicated with my bishop. I told him, my father, I perceive in my spirit there is something that is beyond just me singing here, right? And that's how he took me in, like what somebody said, being embraced, right? So we cannot embrace you if you're not willing to receive the embrace. You are refraining by going out to minister, but when you come in, you want us to embrace you. And you see, there's a time to refrain and there's a time to embrace. So you want to be embraced, but you're refraining. It can't work. So we need to understand that.
One takes us back to the role of the pastor. A pastor is a shepherd to everybody, including that worship leader. So when this worship leader recognizes the man of God or the pastor as his spiritual leader, even God, that connection that is there, God will speak to the man of God concerning this soul. God will allow the man of God to see some things. In fact, some of us men of God, we did not see ourselves as pastors. It took a man of God as you are serving there. I see you are a shepherd. And then the man of, based on the relationship, the man of God began to nurture me as a worshiper. And not now, you will tell me, today you're not going to, or tomorrow you're not going to lead the worship, you're going to lead the service. Weekday fellowship, I don't only sing, but I also lead the service and I preach. But the reason why the man of God will feel insecure and not give this worship leader a pulpit, it is because of how they met and their agreement. Their agreement when they met was, you are a worship leader. That is the only line that I know. And that's what I'm paying you for. So no matter how much you kill yourself that you feel like you are apostolic, you are an evangelist, you want to do this and this, the pastor there will not allow, because what I'm paying you for is, and that's why a worshiper must narrow down their relationship with the man of God, to stop looking at the man of God as a boss, but as a spiritual leader and as a spiritual authority, as a grace cover over him. One thing, when the sons of Sceva went out after seeing what Paul and the rest were doing, they also said to themselves, it is simple. We can also go there to the village square and also pray for people and cast out demons. Now when they went out there, we understand what happened. Yes, the demons came out, but they came out to do what? To beat them. Yes, the demons came out from the mad people, but beat them. Why? After the demons have spoken, that Paul that you are talking about, we know. The Jesus you are preaching, we know. But who are you? It means they had no spiritual cover. So if you are in a worship department, you are a worship leader, and even to a man of God, if you realize that there is much more that is coming from this worship leader or this worship team guys, much more beyond just worshiping and singing, mentor them, give them opportunity. That is how the ministry is also increasing. Some of them will become your pastors there. You know, you met as worship leaders, but some of them, if you nurture them, if you shepherd them, after seeing the gift, they will become your pastors tomorrow. I say this, if the relationship is good, let us cultivate our relationship between our pastors and the worship leaders. Then that insecurity will disappear.
Yes.
Do men of God fear mentoring right now because of the term we are calling insecurity? Because they feel like if I mentor this person, they will go away. they won't be of benefit to my ministry. Yes, I've identified them, they have communicated, they have said I will want to be more graced in this area. I've nurtured them, I've mentored them. But reaches a point, once they are now full, they are already built up, they are mature, they walk away and they will go with my members. Some even carry my instruments, they go with it, or they open a church next door, they steal my members. Is that the reason why we have seen a falling away of pastors engaging in mentorship?
Right.
Yes.
There's something that I usually tell people. There are three kinds of people that will come into your life. One, there are people who come for a season. Number two, there are people who come for a reason. And there's another category of people who come for life. And mostly for life are partners when it comes to church. But of course, there are those exemptions where we have people who are just there until the end of time. But mostly, as men of God, we need to understand this. We need to commune with God and understand this worship leader that is here. If I mentor him or her, are they here for a season or are they here for a reason? Because when you understand that, you'll be able to know, I'm mentoring this one, but his time here is for a season. You know, there are people who come in for a specific assignment sent by God. Once the assignment is done, even if you give them whatever amount of money, they will still go. Because the grace has lifted. The grace has lifted. Because to every man is given a measure of grace. So when you have a grace, or when you've been given grace to do a particular assignment in a particular place, in a particular locality, or in a local church, when the grace is lifted, you can't stay there. The more you stay there, now you begin now to bring in now the conflict because you have no grace. The grace of God is what allows us to be able to function. That's what we call the anointing, because anointing is there to help us to function. Now, when the worship leader perceive they have a calling, now what do? We need to understand that. How long are they here for? You know, and there are some who even come, we mentor them, after a few months they are gone. So what do? You can't keep, you need to let them go. Because, for instance, if I shift from Nairobi to Kericho, my pastor will not follow me to Kericho, because maybe is related to job. So you don't need to curse that person. You could have told your boss, I have some work somewhere. You can't do that. So basically, the key thing is understanding the timelines. The timelines, because that is what brings in now the difference. Because we also say that time will tell. There is a saying that people usually use, that time will tell. That after some time, if you stay with someone for some time, you get to know them better. The same way, we need to understand when it comes now to ministry, when you are mentoring people, we need to understand the timelines. Maybe someone is coming in just to be part of the ministry for a specific time. So if their time is gone, bless them, let them go. But now we also need to do this as men of God. As you also release them, you need to follow up on them. Get to know, where did they go? They traveled to another city. Okay, did they join in a local church? Then after you know where they joined in the local church, get to know the pastor of that church. Talk to them so that you can help them continue to nurture this guy. Because there are also some other people who now go. After they go, they leave your church, they go to another church. They go to Pastor Jasper's church. And when they go in there, when they were in our church, they were worship leaders. But when they introduce themselves to the man of God, they introduce themselves as pastors.
Yeah.
Right? as pastors. I'm Pastor so and so. And the moment you want to be relational now with them, when you want to know them more, most of them, they shy away. Because if you ask them more questions, why were you ministering? They don't want that. No, I'm a man of God. I am anointed. Actually, my coming into your church is a blessing. I'm coming to help you. You know? But you see, before you came, the church was moving. So you are coming in just to blend in. You are coming in to bring what you have to what is already existing. You are just adding to what is already there. You're not coming to bring in anything new. You're just coming so that you can complement. I remember you said something about complementing. So worship leaders should understand that when it comes to mentorship, why are you coming in? You want my mentorship. What exactly do you want? So that I know in which area I am going to mentor you. So basically that is what I would say concerning that. All right.
I once left my church because I felt the time has come for me to leave. It was one due to work and due my spiritual life was not okay. Now the man of God sent me a message to tell me that my life will never be at peace until the day I will come back and kneel before him, because that is the only place I can be blessed. Is that in order?
I think with due respect, the man of God needs a lot of deliverance. Because one thing, as a man of God, we don't own people. You did not go to the village square or the estate to, force people to join your church. So anytime any member want to leave, church is like a bus, ministry is like a bus. Mtu akifika stage yake anataka kushuka, anashuka. Na katika hiyo stage kuna wale wamengojea gari wanapanda. So hiyo kitu hiyo ameshuka, kuna yule anapanda. Tunaweza kuwa tumetoka town sisi wote. I know you don't have a problem when I talk Kiswahili. Yes. Even our viewers. Gari ukipanda kutoka town unaenda kwenye unaenda kwako. Kama mimi nikitumia matatu nikiwa pale town ninasikia Mwiki. Ayesabingi Rostas, ayesabingi Roysambu, ayesabingi mahali naishi. Inasema mwisho wa gari. Town to Mwiki. Sasa ukiwa town Mwiki, hii gari itajaa ndio itoke pale kwa stage. Inaanza mwendo. Huyu mwenye nimekaa karibu na yeye hapa anashuka pale Rosters. Akifika mahali ya kushuka, ananigonga tu. Nashuka. Na naambia conductor ninashuka. Na driver ambaye ni pastor, simamisha gari. Mtu wa Roysambu ashuke. Akisha shuka, kuna mwenye anaingia pale, anaenda Mwiki. So it is very much in order, even the language that we pastors we use. And that one answers what my brother is saying here. I concur 100% that to some extent, to these guys that we are raising in the ministry, kuna limitation kidogo kwa wachungaji. This is the limitation. When we receive ministers in the ministry, we want to base on their performance. Do you know we have ministers who knows only how to perform, but they do not understand ministry? So when you have ministers in the ministry, take them through the school of ministry. Teach them like any other sermon. Groom them and let them understand ministry. And when they rise in the ministry, they understand. Now they are doing what they understand. Unaweza pata mwimbaji anasimamisha vyombo, anaanza kupigia watu kelele. Na wenye anapiga kelele wengine ni wazee. Who gave him that authority ya command? Anaambia mzee, unakaa aje umefura? Na tunaimba praise. You see, look at such kind of a language. Utapata minister mwenye anaongoza praise and worship, anasimamisha worship, na pastor amesimama pale, and to your surprise pastor is laughing. Hey, yes, tell them, why are they like that? You know. So one thing that I want to say, if these ministers humble themselves and realizes that before they lift their hands to their God, that God respect the parents who are seated there. So they first must recognize the elders there. They must recognize the authority and every other person that they are ministering to. Sometimes the power of God does not only come through by the one leading the worship. Sometimes it comes from the congregation. The Lord has seen the heart and the cry of the genuine prayer of the congregation during worship. And that power comes from the congregation and attack the pulpit. It is not always that it comes from the madhabahu. Sometimes it comes from just one woman behind there who is serving God genuinely, and God sees that heart and God comes down, attack the church. It is not always through the pulpit, and they need to understand, and we need to understand that. So for a man of God who refuses to release, when one person wants to leave the church, please bless them, pray for them. And you see, you may not know, tomorrow this person will grow big and will still recognize you as a spiritual authority and a mentor in their lives. So it is not in order. When this lady wanted to leave, please, man of God, call this lady, pray for her, counsel her well, and release her with faith and the grace of God upon your life. Don't destroy what you have built in this minister for years because she just wanted to leave. And by the way, we are not called. Every pastor have been called to a specific kind of people. We are not just called to everybody. That is why my church is here and the another church is just there. And you know what? All of them, the saints are getting inside. I have never seen a member of our church getting confused and entering another, that is, another church which is close there and says that I forgot about our church and I was just comfortable. No. Every vision attracts a people of its own kind. So we may not be called to, minister to everyone. Everyone has a pastor. The Bible says that, for I have given you pastors and shepherds after my own heart, who will teach you wisdom and understanding, the knowledge of God. So God is the one who chooses. So if this member feel like is not growing, go to where you are growing. And I've told members anytime, all ministers, if you are somewhere and you're not growing, please look for a place where you are growing, but communicate. Just come and say that, I feel, this is what I feel. This is where my life is. Release them wholeheartedly.
Don't just go.
Don't just go.
Oh.
And if you're a genuine minister, don't just leave church. Because when you came, you stood in front and you say, from today I will be a member. Now, when your membership is ended, why don't you just come and communicate to pastor? And then the pastor now release you again before the people and pray for you, and people release you. Look at how people clapped the day you joined the church. Even if you did not tell people, there are others who normally come and they keep on coming, and they turn to members without saying that they are members. But once in a while, it is noted that now you are a member. You are assigned duties. You are drinking from the grace, the benefits of the grace and the altar. You are benefiting. You have carried some testimonies that you did not come with, because ministry changes. Now, when the time comes that you now want to leave, the same way you appreciated when you joined, why don't you just say, Papa or Mama, I feel my time, I want to leave. Even those who want to go and open church, stop breaking the church. Don't split the ministry by building groups because you feel like you are highly anointed and the man of God has refused to let you go. No. Communicate in advance. Come and communicate to the man of God, even if you're a keyboardist. Don't run away because you have shown money. Tell Papa, I feel there is a responsibility I'm given in a certain church, and they are giving me much more than what you are giving me. But if you are ready to increase my salary, if they are them who are giving salaries, and we don't dismiss that, wale wamefika kiwango ya kulipa, let them pay. If the church is capable of doing that, let them do it. Every choices have got their own consequences. We don't refuse. If you can pay from the watchman to everybody else that are serving in the church, including ushers, do it if you have the ability, to appreciate them. But when they are leaving, let them communicate. Come to pastor. You see, this one teaches you even a good character, even before God. Don't just leave. come and speak your heart to the man of God, and let the man of God pray for you.